Hello everyone, welcome to the No Name Academy. My name is Katie, also known as Insider PhD. These are going to be some short videos on the new OWASP API Top 10. If you're already familiar with the API Top 10, you'll see a lot of these are going to be very familiar, but there are some interesting additions and changes and merges. These videos don't need to be watched in any particular order. Feel free to skip around and look at what you may not know already, or watch them all and understand each one. So this is API4, Unrestricted Resource Consumption. So often APIs run on much less powerful hardware than traditional web applications because it doesn't have the necessity to have things like a UI or complex business logic. It also happens because APIs are often plugged into things like APIs that can send text messages. And this is all about consuming those resources and actually costing money rather than just development. So let's have an example here. So we have these three API users, yellow, purple, and green. And imagine we're developing this API, and yellow, purple, and green can all use the API. And yellow is already a power user, but when yellow starts abusing the API, potentially this might look like bots automatically visiting posts and liking them, or crawling to get their own version of the API. If that only exists, if that's only happening a very small amount, the server may well be able to handle that. But when it becomes excessive, yellow can use up all the server's resources, so much so that green and purple can't. Now, your cloud provider will often be very understanding and say you can use this extra storage for $5 or $10 or $25 and you can continue to pay for it. But if you're not blocking that yellow's access to the API, it can become more and more costly before it becomes cross-prohibited. It's the same for third-party APIs that send text or emails. You'll have a limit and then you'll get billed for going over your plan. And it can often end up with a really surprised bill at the end. So what can an attacker do? APIs often use limited server resources as they tend to be more lightweight applications. Or they'll connect APIs such as SMS messaging APIs. If these resources are depleted and additional resources are required just to ensure legitimate users can still access the API, it can be extremely costly, or it could even affect the availability of an API, slowing it down for genuine users. You might know that as an application like this. So why is this an issue in API specifically? APIs are lightweight and they deploy on low resource hardware. APIs are used as a way to scale an application very quickly. So you can have a single API deployed across different containers, and those number of containers can increase with the number of users. And users may abuse an API, particularly if there is some financial gain. Things like selling likes, selling followers. By abusing that API, they may be able to sell that service onwards. How do you resolve these? Do check cost and abuse policies for any third-party APIs your APIs have with access control in mind. So, for example, if you've got a text messaging service, what are the abuse policy there? Will it prevent you from sending any more text messages? What's the cost of sending X number of messages? Ensure that APIs have limits on typical server resources, particularly for finding abuse. Consider rate limiting specific endpoints or third-party APIs, so your API isn't sending dozens of requests to the third party, or those endpoints that may be particularly valuable are not necessarily worth selling access to. Don't allow apps to directly access third-party APIs such as text messaging, because an attacker could grab that API token or that API request and send a lot of resources on your behalf. Don't not use spending restrictions on third-party APIs. So if you are able to restrict the amount you spend to something you're comfortable with, definitely do consider that. And don't remove rate limiting on integrations like SMS. because not only may you find that your cost for that SMS service will go up, but also at the same time, you may find that your provider just blocks you entirely. So if you're worried about these types of attacks, No Name can help. Its runtime protection can detect and block API attacks with real-time traffic analysis to detect API abuse. So thank you very much. That was API4 Unrestricted Resource Consumption.